In my 7 years in the foster care system, I was placed in 23 different foster homes, and I went to 14 different schools.
Many of us get into this business because something is missing in our hearts.
The role that I'm most proud of is my role as a CASA volunteer.
If it weren't for my CASA, I would have just ended up aging out of the system with nowhere to go.
I won't stop on behalf of that individual child.
CASA is an invaluable program.
In California, as you know, there are approximately 80,000 children in the foster care system. Our court system is simply overwhelmed and under-resourced. Time moves slowly. In the eyes of a child's clock. To a child, the delays are not understandable, and to us, they are unacceptable. CASA's volunteers, 5,000 volunteers, play a constant role in a young person's life. Social workers change and judges change, and you wonder what is the constant. Trained CASA volunteers work one-on-one, getting to know each child's story, each child's hopes, and each child's dreams.
When my mother passed away, actually it was the month before my high school graduation, emancipation was looming over my head. What am I going to do when I turn 18? Am I going to end up on the street? But my CASA advocated for me. And so from there, I obtained a job where after a few months I was actually promoted to supervisor. Also, I have an associate's degree with honors, and I'm pursuing a degree in psychology. I don't think I would have been able to get the resources and attention that I needed without the help of my CASA.
In my 7 years in the foster care system, I was placed in 23 different foster homes, group homes, juvenile hall, and psychiatric facilities, and I went to 14 different schools. If it wasn't for Nancy, I wouldn't be the success I am today. Now that I'm out of the system, Nancy is my best friend.
It's not about the parents, it's not about the system, it's not about the social workers, it's about the child. And the only person who comes into your courtroom with that sole focus is the CASA.
I was the latest in a string of professionals she called the time wasters. Why don't you understand? I don't need you. You can't help me. I needed case cooperation. Before emancipation, she would need proof of her legal status in the U.S. I found proof of her legal status and later assisted her in becoming a U.S. citizen by working with DCFS and INS. I guided her through college and financial aid applications and her move to Cal State Northridge. A few months ago, I received an email from Kay. Its excerpt reads, "I wanted to talk to you for such a long time. I miss you. It is funny that I would say that, 'cause looking back, I remember a time when I could not stand to see your face. Please, write back when you get this message, because I have been dying to hear from you. In some strange way, you always reminded me of the mom I never had. I never told you that, but there it goes. Love ya, Kay."
My first case assignment was 2 preteen males. Their father was incarcerated. These kids had absolutely no other person in their lives who would even touch them. They wouldn't have anything to do with them. And so I went down to the prison. I said, "Do you want your sons back?" He says, "Yes." He pounded on the table and said he wants his sons back, but the system won't help him. "I will help you." I cannot explain to you how much it meant to me after this family got back together and they invited me over to share a meal with them. I can't explain to you how much that meant to me.
Biologically, I'm not a father. However, I often say of these two boys that I always thought that someday I'd have children. I just didn't know that when I had them that they'd already be full-grown and Chinese.
CASAs have the capacity right now to serve about 1 in 10 kids in the child welfare system. And that to me is tragic. The chances then of having a CASA are less than rolling any given number when you roll the dice. Kids who have CASAs get what they need.
I know from my personal experience of spending 8 years in foster care, I remember one social worker that I saw maybe twice. If you supply a CASA to a child, that child will have something start to finish.
I was having dinner one night with one of my former advocate teens, and I recalled for him that at the time that I became his CASA, he was already within a year of emancipation, fiercely independent, was well-adjusted and living in almost complete independence in a transitional housing placement program. Given all of that, I asked him why, when I called, did he agree to allow me to meet with him to be his CASA. He said simply, because you were a CASA. You're a volunteer and you care. And that, I think, is the cornerstone of what CASA is all about. Thank you very much.